What's up, guys? So if you guys have not been on this channel before, my name is Winston. I'm one of the video guys that is on this channel. If you've not viewed it before, this channel is mainly about farm equipment or cattle, livestock handling, etc. It's all about the farm life. And today we are working on the 4800 International Feed Truck with the 466E engine in it. And unfortunately, the pump for the bed, which turns the hydraulics of the bed, which makes it mix. If you guys have seen the previous video of us feeding cattle with the feed truck, you'll see that. It is stuck in gear, meaning that every time you start up the truck, the pump turns on, which is not good because when you're driving down the highway with an empty load, there's no point in the pump running. So we took it all apart. We tried different things. We tried solenoids. We tried all these other issues, and we didn't know it was the pump at first because the pump is intact with the transmission. It's put together, and so we wondered if it was the transmission. We had other thoughts and theories. None of them proved out, so we're tearing the pump apart. So with that said, let's get in there to the pump. Let's start tearing it apart. And if you guys can see, I thought I'd actually show you back here. Underneath there, and I've got to give credit where credit is due. My brother, Justice, which is featured on this channel, and my dad did most of the work on this part of it. And they tore it out underneath there, and it took them several hours because of the way it was designed. They had to custom make tools to fit up on top of the transmission to get it unbolted. So definitely appreciation to them for that. They spent countless hours doing that, getting it out of here. It's very difficult to get out, and unfortunately it's going to be very difficult to get in. But if you guys can see, the part laying on the ground, right there, is one of the pieces that was on the pump. So it would be transmission, pump, and then the part on the ground. I'm not quite sure what that's called. I'll try to tell you guys in this video sometime. So with that said, let's walk over here and see the pump. We've been tearing it apart, working on it together as a team because we always like to remember what the parts are and where they go and how they're organized. And if you guys can see that, we've got them all laid out on the tool. So with that said, let me turn the camera around and I'll just kind of point out some things. So, pointing out a few things. Second, let me turn the radio down. Alright, so pointing out a few things. These are some of the gears we've taken out of the pump casing. Also, another tip, always use wood against metal, like the housing or the shaft here and that. Never score your shaft because then it's hard to work with and it's never perfectly correct again. So we started tearing it apart. This is the clutch packs and housing, the brake stuff. If you guys can see the black on that, that's where it's burned just because it's got way too much heat in there. Took some snap rings off. We started tearing it apart and this part started falling out of it. That's actually part of brakes in the clutch, and that is a clutch pack, which if you guys can see here, if I can turn them, trying to see where they are. One of these right there. You guys can see that we're actually missing a piece of it right there. Down in there, we haven't got that tore apart yet. We're going to tear that apart. Down in there, it's spring loaded. And here's a few of the springs that fell out of it. There's been parts falling out of it as we've been taking it apart. So definitely an issue with this. So let's stay tuned and see what else we can get into with it. Also wanted to mention snap ring pliers. If you guys have never used these are definitely a must. They have two little points on them, if you can see that. So, for instance, let me dig out a snap ring here. So there's a snap ring. And you can position it and pry them open or shut. So definitely something that's always handy to have around on a farm working on stuff, because a lot of them end up needing snap ring work. Alright guys, so this is, I guess, a week later. We've got the parts all here. So I thought I'd show you the new parts, how they came in the package. The PTO, hydraulic PTO is Muncie is what it's called. That I think was what was originally on the truck, and that's what we order now. The pump, or sorry, it's not a pump, it's PTO. The PTO costs about $1,200, and that is just the parts. We don't include our labor into that. So with that said, guys, let's look at the parts and get into that. Alright, so here's the new pump. They painted it blue for us. And if you guys can see, now this is tore apart, so granted it looks a little bit different. Let's see, it'd be this way. There we go. But there's the old one versus the new one, so it's definitely a lot shinier. This will bolt on to the transmission side to run the PTO. This back here will bolt to the pump, hydraulic pump that runs the bed and all the hydraulics on the truck. It came with all these different parts, all the solenoid and all that stuff that we're going to get to install, hydraulic hoses and all the extra bolts and stuff. So with that said, guys, that is what it is. It's a Muncie PTO. It came out of Muncie, Indiana. So that's where it came from. So with that and all the parts, that's $1,200, and then our labor on top of that. And if you guys ever take one of these out, be prepared to have a smaller, younger guy in there, or for example, which my brother's not much smaller than me now, but it's definitely helpful to have smaller hands, because some of them bolting up to that transmission is about impossible if you're a full-sized person. So just another tip. Alright, so if you guys can see this, we've got the parts and the new pump, and here's the serial number for it. Unfortunately, this is the wrong pump. So there is and so the new one is an under, and that one is an over. That's what they're called in the Muncie Corporation, and so we got the under instead of the over. So we're going to have to send this one back and return it and get the correct one. Some of the reasons this will not work, if you guys can see, these are the oil ports here. You have to actually turn this one all the way over to get the oil ports, and you can see they're on the wrong sides. Also, this is the end cap here, and that's the end cap on that one, which is supposed to be plated, so they're completely in the wrong direction also. And also where the PTO, or the hydraulic pump, bolts up is in the completely wrong area also.
Just the
also,
pitch of that.
If you guys can see the pitch difference between the two, so that is definitely a major issue bolting, because trying to bolt this one up gets in the way of the frame. So always make sure you get the correct one for your project. I'm not sure if this was a manufacturer error. I'm not sure if this was the company's error, or it could be our error in getting part numbers confused. We're going to have to see what all transpires. Now, as we're working on the truck, I thought I'd show you one of our helpful companions. Houdini, come here. Sit down, sit down. You shake my hand? Thank you very much, dear lady. That is one of our helpful shop companions. She is part Doberman and part Rottweiler. And she is actually Justice's dog, so... But, yep, that's Houdini. You want to give the crowd one more smile, Houdini?
Sit.
Can you shake my hand? Sit down, sit down. Shake my hand. So there you go, guys. That's one of our shop help. Alright, so as we're sliding under the truck here to look at the hole where the PTO went. That's actually the hole where it bolts on. You can see the studs. Dad had to replace a couple of them just because they were getting old and worn out. But that's the hole that the PTO bolts up to. Very difficult to get it up in there. So we'll have some more footage in a second here of when it's up in there. That's the hole. So there's up the underneath of the truck, and so there you go, guys. And then this is the Alright, guys, so this is the finished product of installing the PTO. There's the pump right there, if you guys can see that, with these big lines, or big hoses here. This is the pump. Then that's the blue PTO. Those are all the hydraulic and all the hoses we had to install with it. Overall, it probably took us, It took 2 to 3 guys, probably took about 5 hours to install and uninstall the pump, 5 to 6 hours, give or take. So that would be if 2 guys worked on it constantly, because some of us did switch on and off. That would be about, if I'm adding this up right, and we don't keep track of our hours, but it's an average of about 10 to 12 man hours to install and uninstall this pump, not including the time we had to deal with trying to call and contact people to where to even purchase the pump. So that's the finished product, guys. And we also changed the transmission fluid. Alright, guys, so we just got the new PTO put into the truck, guys. Like I mentioned, it took about 10 to 12 man hours, and with all 3 of us working on it, it was a major job. Actually, to put the pump back on the PTO with them big lines, it took all 3 of us. Definitely not something to tackle by yourself. Definitely would need some help with that. We actually had to make a couple special tools to install it in. That's always a laborious thing to do. So with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely took a lot more time and a lot more labor than we were thinking it would. But like everything, you can't calculate it out until you already get in it and finish it. So with that said, we changed the transmission fluids and the engine oil fluids while we were at it. One thing that we learned that we did not know before is that when you change the transmission fluid, I guess I should have said we just cleaned it and put it back in. You took it out to install the PTO because it's into the side of the transmission, but we were going to put brand new fluid in it. We called actually International, which is what this truck is, and they said that don't put brand new fluid in it because every time you put transmission fluid in it, transmission fluid comes with a detergent already in it to clean out the transmission. Once you do that so many times, it cleans out the transmission so good that it actually makes the transmission slip, and then it ruins the transmission. You have to buy a new transmission. So we just filtered the old oil and put it back in. He said actually that's just as good or even better than putting new in because the new comes with detergent. And since we did not purchase this truck new, we don't know how many times before the transmission oil has been changed, so we didn't want to detergent it and clean it too much to make it slip. So we played it safe that way, guys. We just cleaned out the old oil. Also, we replaced the engine oil with brand new oil, guys. That's always the thing we try to do when it's in the shop getting worked on because it never hurts. Change the filters out. So it is ready to mix feed again, guys. So with nothing more to say, I guess, thanks for staying tuned. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, comment down below, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, if I can even say that right. So with that said, guys, hope you have an awesome rest of your day.